Dr. Harmony. I'm a twin flame expert helping twin flames around the globe face fears, find freedom, and glow forward on fire. Welcome to my weekly glow show. Today's topic is, do you believe in you? What a great topic, right? I am seeing this week a pattern with everyone that is on the verge of breakthroughs. Breakthroughs that are massive breakthroughs from all of this energy that we've been going through. I will say that, as a quote that I say, your greatest resistance becomes your greatest breakthrough, and that you find your greatest breakthrough on the other side of your greatest resistance. And I'm seeing this personally, so many breakthroughs this week that I'm going to share with you. So be sure to stay tuned to the end, because I'm going to share with you not only what's been going on with me personally this week, that's some very, very exciting stuff, but also in three ways to help you learn to believe in yourself, which is ultimately being able to learn to create and practice self-acceptance. And so I'm going to share with you three ways kind of at the end. But first, I want to just share with you a little bit about these breakthroughs that I'm seeing with people, as well as what I'm seeing, the patterns this week in everyone around me. So the first, I'm seeing four different kind of patterns all happening at the same time this week. The first pattern is that people are fighting this process because we've shifted into the new energy, and the old ways no longer work anymore, and we're being forced to go ahead and flip the switch and shift into the new templates. But a lot of people are fighting the process. And so if you're having this head-heart battle, if you're still suffering from a lot of the ascension shifts and, the assist for the ascension symptoms, which I do see and have a video coming on that potentially next week, because they just come through as I'm supposed to share them. But I see that is coming because a lot of people are still fighting this process, and they're still having issues and making this flip from letting go and surrendering into the destiny. On the other side of that, I'm seeing people that are right on the edge. They're right on the fence here. They're crossed between the old self, the new self, and they can see the journey, but they're sitting on the fence. And then on the other side of that, that's creating another aspect of like resistance and breakthroughs coming here, because people have done a certain amount of work and they see that there's more to do. They see they're not where they want to be, but they're still a little bit resisting the process. Maybe not as much as the ones really fighting the process, but there's still some underlying breakthrough that needs to take place, which I've even personally received, even at the work I've been doing, another layer of letting go of some pieces, which ultimately it wasn't about, for me, just so you know, it's not always about like you're not willing to do it. It's the awareness that you have to go through the process and to come to the awareness to get your breakthrough. So you have to get the awareness to create the breakthrough, and you have to surrender, letting go, and through all these ways that I've talked about to get to your awareness. As soon as you get the awareness, it makes the breakthrough. You let go of the resistance because you can get your lesson basically, and then you flip on across. Now, I'm also seeing in the third wave of this, or the third experiences that things that people are experiencing, is they're being forced to flip. That's what I talk about, the shift or be shifted. They've been on the fence and they've been flipped over the edge. And now they're trying to catch up. And it's like, what just happened? And I'm going through all this stuff, and I'm feeling another layer purge, but it's like, I actually even had one of my clients say that she was probably one of the few people that was in the pit, but smiling because she knew that there was nowhere else to go but up. Now, that's what I'm saying here, being forced to flip. And at the other side of that is other people I'm seeing are having these huge breakthroughs. Now, the huge breakthroughs, I'm also hearing just what I have said, and I said in my last video. So if you did not watch my last week's video, I'm going to put a link below, because it's going to kind of get you up to speed with the energies and what we're being forced to do. And was about gaining self-empowerment. So if you have not seen that, that is kind of like where this other range of breakthroughs are coming, is through the self-empowerment. But I want you to know something, that based on my own experiences that I've seen this week, every one of those phases of fighting the process, being on the edge of the fence, being flipped off the fence, and then having some huge breakthroughs that you've been kind of working through, multiple breakthroughs anyway, and having the big bang theory happen. What I'm seeing is it's the self-acceptance, that in believing in yourself, I should say, which is coming through self-acceptance, that's creating the breakthrough for where we're at right now. Okay. And so I want to talk then about, what does it mean to accept yourself? I mean, because that's a really deep subject technically, but ultimately what I'm seeing, it's about retrieving your soul. It's a soul retrieval of going back into a place of empowerment of everything that you gave away. And that's sort of taking back all your pieces and pulling everything and tying yourself back together, and retrieving everything you gave away. So that's one of the things here, that what I'm considering is accepting self, because you gave it away because you didn't accept that piece of you. So you sort of gave all that up. So another part of that is creating courage and compassion for yourself. And that is becoming the wise soul. That is letting your wisdom shine. That is letting that everything that you've been learning up to this point, your passion, your desires, your destiny, you're letting it come out by creating the courage to let it out, and having the compassion for yourself, that when it comes out, you don't have to judge it. You don't have to self-sabotage it. And that you can sort of like release yourself. So what I'm saying here in a way is, you've boxed yourself up for eons, and now you're taking the lid off, and you're ready to come out like the Jack in the Box, and surprise, here I am. And you're even looking at that going, who is that person, right? And so that's having the courage and the compassion for yourself with the wisdom that's built up inside, and bringing it out of the box. Okay. And in addition to that is the worthiness coming back up, and that we tend to accept ourselves basically does not mean that our worth is based on the achievements that we've accomplished. And a lot of times we look at what's going on outside of ourselves and what we have not accomplished, and those are different achievements that we've been working towards. And it's like, okay, well, if they have not accomplished, I'm either not worthy of having them, or I don't have enough worth and acceptance of myself and believing in myself to realize that it doesn't matter what's going on in here. I can still be worthy of, no matter what it's looking like on the outside, or what I'm not getting done. Because that kind of also is saying, that your worth is not based on your current status around you. And ultimately what that means is, in accepting yourself, is you're honoring your sacred self in a way that you're listening to your personal truth. And a lot of people don't really know what is that truth. And the truth is that listening to that gut inside, being in alignment with your destiny, and showing up in a place that you do accept what's happening with non-judgment of everything going on around you and with yourself. And so the other aspect of this, in accepting yourself, would be an example of not giving yourself away, like I said, but then to create the harmonic balance in that, in the give and the take. To let down your walls, to not just give, and do, but to be and have, and to be open to allow that to come in, so you can anchor that into physical form and bring and manifest into your reality that which you are seeking, and or that you want to have, and that you even feel that you that's inside of you that you should have, but you won't allow yourself to have it. So it's allowing the harmonic balance to come into harmony between your give and your take. So basically, accepting yourself really just means honoring the sacred self and accepting your own unique abilities and capabilities, and that you don't put your destiny in the hands of other people. that's ultimately what I'm saying too, isn't that that means that you can realize your own worth and be open for your own rewards instead of, again, putting everything in the hands of someone else. And so, and the other thing I want to say, so sometimes, you can look at this as, a disappointment because you didn't accomplish something that you set out to do. There's a difference in disappointment and self-condemnation. Condemnation. The self-condemnation is beating yourself up over and over and over again because you consider yourself to be a failure because you keep repeating the same patterns, you keep sabotaging those patterns, and you feel like that no matter what you're doing, you're not going to getting ahead. Or you're getting on the edge of your breakthrough and the rug yanked out from under you. And I'm going to share some examples with that in a minute. So what do we need to do to accept ourselves? You need to accept all of you, all of your authentic self, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And what that means is that everything is perfect, that, there are no mistakes, and that you need to stop judging yourself because you consider that you're making mistakes, and that, I talk about the duality, and, we have to have the good, bad to feel the good. We have to feel bad to feel good. Well, sometimes it can be two ways, and this is finding the harmony. Somebody might only feel bad and not allowing themselves to cut off the good, or like in my case, I always try to feel good and cut off the bad. But that's cutting a side of you out. That's not accepting all of you. And so, like, to accept yourself means to accept all of you, the good, bad, and the ugly, and then don't judge yourself for it. Stop looking outside of yourself for your abilities that don't seem good enough, your acceptance, your approval from other people. We tend to do those things, and it is not honoring or accepting what is inside, or maybe our truth that we came here to, put into motion with our mission. And a lot of times these missions aren't happening because you have to be in alignment with you before you can fully align with the mission. And so a lot of times people are even searching outside, and I'm guilty of this. I'm going to share my story in a minute of how this happened for me from this alignment. Again, a 20-year journey. But this week I did it, and I told you last week I was creating these breakthroughs, and that inside it happened. I said last week, inside, I got the breakthrough, and I knew. And I said that now everything on the outside is catching up. And boy, oh boy, I can't wait to share with you what's happened. So before I do though, let's talk about the 3 ways that I told you I would teach you or share with you, and how do you create this self-acceptance. One of the number one and probably the biggest way is to stop running from your mistakes, or what you consider and or think to be your mistakes. Okay? It's all perfect. It's okay to be human, and there are no mistakes. Now, I'm going to give you an example of this, especially when it comes to like the all being perfect. And this is coming up because I've been doing a lot of website development and tweaking this week that I'll share with you in a minute, my story on that. And it's actually it's quite an interesting story to share with you as examples of all of this. So, but in that, I was thinking of the editing of certain aspects, and it reminded me of my book, and that I had launched my book out into the stratosphere, basically, which really meant I was launching my soul into the stratosphere. And me being a perfectionist, like when I say a perfectionist, I've always said it's like going to AA meetings, that you are always in recovery, because it's not like it goes away. It's a matter of how you manage it, and how do you let it run you or rule you, or do you accept it, and do you honor that, but you don't stay there. So for my own personal lessons, when it came to book editing my book that I had channeled in and wrote out in a matter of 6 weeks last year in 2016, the Twin Flame Codebreaker, I I had this from guidance, like these deadlines I was working on based on the energy patterns, based on what guidance wanted it out for people. And, you know, I even had like was working with publishers that are saying we'll get this book out like in a year, and like, well, yeah, it would even like start to launch in a year. That means it would just not be coming out. Okay. And it's been out over a year now. So like I was like, no, that can't happen. This has to go now. And so, you know, it was a pattern for me of letting go of the perfection inside of myself, that like it had to be perfect. Okay. I've always been someone that like needed perfection in everything around in order to feel like everything was, you know, it's in control of like it all being right or perfect, you know? Well, I had to like release my soul, realizing it was perfect the way it was. And I even put in the message to my reader in that book that said, you know, that guidance was, there are a few editorial errors. Now, for a manner of what it came out, it's actually really perfect. But you know, if you're somebody that's really stuck and hung up on editorial issues, the point is it's the message, it's the beauty of the message, you know, and letting go of, you know, that mindset that it's not perfect unless every little detail is corrected. So I made this comment in there, and I even had a patient come in after was reading, like got into the introduction or something, and said, oh, you know, you maybe need to get into a different editor, because in the first, and just by the way, I only had one line edits from an editor, and then a couple people editing kind of on the back end. And this was all happening at the same time as writing it. I was writing a chapter, it was getting edited through the editor, and then two people following up, and then I went through it at the end as I kept writing. That's the only way that like I had a system that was happening. And so, you know, anyway, so this they didn't know this though, but anyway, it doesn't even matter. But the point was is he was saying, you know, you need to get a different editor. You know, you've got a mistake in that first like paragraph, you know, and that it was some little grammar error. And so I said, well, did you skip to your reader? Because that says that I was shown that this book had to have some errors in it to prove a point that it is all perfect the way it is, because there was no way it had to go. And I had to release it. And it was a big thing for me to let go of that. But anyway, you get my point. Stop running from the mistakes of like we make mistakes, number one in that. Number two in that it is all perfect, and it's perfect as it is. And sometimes the mistake is the perfection. Finding the perfection in the mistake is the point I'm saying there. And finding the beauty in the aspects. So as I always teach people, like that went out as a lesson to also teach people that message going out there. So number two in the how do we create self-acceptance is using positive self-talk, because so many people consider themselves, because they're going through these cycles over and over again, a loser, a failure, must not be doing something right, sabotaging self, and going through that repetitive aspect of beating yourself up. So instead of, when you catch yourself doing this, get in the habit of complimenting yourself, and even do it even if you don't like do negative self-talk. Get in a habit of complimenting yourself so that you can switch your mindset to become solution oriented rather than focusing on the problem. So think in terms of like solutions rather than problems, and using that to start talking to yourself nicely rather than beating yourself up. And then the third thing is tolerance, which creates compassion for ourselves. You know, we don't always even, sometimes we can judge other people. And if you are judging other people, it's a reflection of the self-judgment, because what you see in other people is what somewhere mirrored back what needs to be like worked on within yourself. But what is most important is, if you're going to judge more of the behavior, the circumstance, the aspect of it, not you or your response to it and how you respond, because there are no mistakes with that. So those are the three ways that you help create some self-acceptance, and that is, again, avoid running from your mistake, start using some positive self-talk, and have tolerance for yourself, which is going to create some compassion for you. That's going to help you learn to accept yourself more. So now, okay, so I want to share with you now my breakthroughs from this week. Well, Well, first of all, I want to say again, I mentioned this, but I want to elaborate a little bit more. If you watched that video last week on the self-empowerment, I went through some very, 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 very deep releasing in the last 2 to 3 weeks leading up to this last week. And I knew when I got my breakthrough, I could feel it. And I even said in the video, like I said. And so I knew, like, I felt all systems go, bondage was cleaned up, and I then started looking at what's around me, making my list, just like I tell clients and you guys, making my list of what still needs cleaned up in my physical reality that I need to dot I's, cross T's. Doesn't mean I wait to start my new implementation of the new templates, but I'm going to run this running tab of these. I'm going to kind of parallel some of these out, but where's my focus need to go to clean up anything else around me? So one of the biggest factors was my web issue. That technically everything that was left for me to clean up, other than my situation with Champ, which is coming to its revelation in March, resolution, I should say, in March, was built around the website. I mean, and it was even restrictions of going forward because it was not complete. So I want to tell you my little journey with that, because ultimately, I knew this. My website was really like a representation of me and my life. And I knew every time I hit a block in it and all these things going on in it, I knew that it had a reflection to me, my truth, my acceptance, my mission, my believing in self, and also my receiving. I knew all of these things, but I also knew that I was working on all those things. But like, I got the breakthrough and the understanding this week of what happened out of the biggest point of all of that. So let me tell you the journey first, and I'll lead up to what the breakthrough was. So basically for at least 20 years, like, I've always had this huge global vision. And I've said for 20 years, I'm going mobile and global. So when the web came out and I knew all these things, I started trying to build a web empire. And naturally, like, I got to tell you something first. I got to back up 1 second. When I graduated graduate school from Logan University and became a chiropractor, I don't have the luxury of being tech savvy at a young age, because this didn't come into play until later. And then when it did come out, I was so wrapped up in grad school, I didn't really get tapped into the World Wide Web. And when I came out of grad school and everything started operating on computers and all this other stuff, and I didn't have a lot of computer experience, every time I would touch a computer, I mentioned that the energy would, sometimes a whole computer will melt down when my energy gets around it. But in addition to that, like, if I touch something, it would all go away, and I knew nothing about it. Even if I accidentally closed down a Word document, I'm not kidding, I'd go get an employee one time to help me open it back up. And then to try to build like a presentation for like a talk I was doing and using PowerPoint, and like, oh, I mean, I was just always so frustrated because there was something inside of me that needed to come out in a vision, and I could not get anybody to see my vision. And I would go to people and try to get them to create these projects for me, and they could do it, but it never like seemed to settle with what was inside. And for years I beat myself up over that, thinking it had to do with the perfection, because I thought, okay, why can't I just be settled with what they're doing? And it was really bigger than that. And that was part of my breakthrough this week. I'll share in a minute. It was really more about what needed to be expressed that nobody could express but myself. So, and that was, you know, more of the issue than the perfection aspect of it. But anyway, so back up to, you know, then working on a worldwide web empire of a site. I built my own site, my very first site back in 2000, early 2000s. And I'm not kidding when I say I spent 18 months And I'd been going through a divorce, and I was trying to build this empire of this site, kind of like everything I'm doing now with all global, and getting this global site ready to launch, even though it was just a local chiropractor. And my business was Healthy Solutions. Teaching the art of wellness was my tagline. And I was helping people make the connection mind, body, spirit. That was my brand. And in fact, the logo with that looks very beautiful, because it was about coming out of like sort of that dark side and coming out into the sun and shining and transitioning. So I knew, like, that's what it is still now. Going from the dark night of the soul to the enlightenment is all the same. I just didn't know all the same language or the understanding them. But in that, like what was happening is I was getting a divorce, and so I was taking care of me, and I spent 7 years basically single before my ex-life partner came into play. That with Champ situation, I was single for 7 years, and I recreated myself during that 7 years. I let go of my past. I did all these things, but how I would spend my Friday and Saturday nights was at my office virtually all night, sitting there doing web development on my computer. Now, it was interesting because 2 or 3 doors down was a little pub, and they would play music on Friday and Saturday nights, but it was loud enough I'd be sitting in my office listening to their music, doing this as my pass away time. Well, the thing was, it was never good enough, because even though I was putting something out, the reflection of what it was didn't meet what was inside of my head, because I was limited on my skills, my abilities, and how to create that. And I had a system that I did, and I learned coding and all this stuff. And so anyway, with that being said, what was really ultimately happening in that is my vision was always ahead of my reality too. So like whenever I would get to a place of things catching up, I was already ahead. That's kind of how I've been this time. You know, I was 20 years ago teaching organic food, health and wellness, meditations, you know, all of the holistic wellness. And now it's mainstream to have organic food in a grocery store. I used to go take people to the grocery store as field trips and show them how to shop. So like, you know, now I'm ahead that 20 years again, basically paving another path in a different way based on what I'm doing here. But everything I did up to that point has been part of the process to funnel through and help me to be here to deliver everything I deliver and to work with my clients. So, but anyway, bottom line is I always felt very limited. You know, it's almost like what I could see and what I could do, I'm kind of mentioning this, but I just didn't have the knowledge basically to do it. And it gave me the self-sabotage of not feeling good enough. That's really summing that up. But the other piece of that, I was always, always, always on the verge of a breakthrough. I would, like, as an example, between the year 2010 and 2012, after I had merged my chiropractic practice with another local chiropractor in a group practice with the goal in mind and the fear that I couldn't do this alone, that I had to go somewhere to invest my time and my interest in to make money so that could run on its own, so I could go out and do this mission. All right. Well, that partnership fell apart, and it virtually destroyed a 12-year practice I'd created up to that point. But I walked away from that knowing there was a lesson, and I also walked away knowing that there was something inside of me that didn't trust or believe in myself. I did not believe in myself enough to stay in my mission and to start moving in my mission as I was recreating things, and I couldn't let go enough of the control within my daily environment to allow me to shift into this other realm that I thought I needed to be. So I would see out here, but I was living here, and I didn't know how to get from here to there. So I was making shifts in my lives in order to break me free to go there, but that meant I didn't believe in me. Okay, and then that crumbled and that fell apart. And then out of that, then I took a couple of year hiatus where I actually still practiced part-time at the time and had created another business with my ex-life partner at the time. And I was practicing, but at the same time that was happening, all at the same time, I had this guy by the name of Deepak contact me, and he's like, I saw your ad and I saw what you do. He was from California, and the funny thing was, I even had to ask him based on talking to him, everything he was saying to me. I go, you're not Deepak Chopra, are you? And it was so funny because he goes, no, but I get that all the time. So anyway, he contacted me, and he saw what I was doing somehow out there, and he was happening to come into town and said to me, like, I need help with this, this, and this, and a journey for myself, and I can see what you're trying to do. And the thing was, he built people's empires just like I was trying to build the empire. The whole gamut on the back end of the web development, the branding, all of that. That was what he did. And he approached me saying, you know what? I'm not even going to charge you. I want to do this for you. And talk about being blown away. So therefore, we started down this path. He even put something together. He started the process, fell through. I was right on the edge. I'm not kidding. We even had a site built and everything. He had some things come up in his life. Things transitioned. It was over. After spending about 18 months of working on that project. So, and then I walked away from that going, you know what? I don't know what to do. I know I'm being called to do something. I know there's a block. I don't even know what to do. At this point, I'm throwing up my hands going, I don't even know if there is a mission here because I can't take anymore. I'm basically done with this. Like, my passion has gone. I have nothing to give anybody. And I don't even know how to proceed. So I took another couple year kind of pullback, even though it was all kind of brewing, all still going on. And that's when I discovered that I started writing the book, Personal Freedom Unleashed. Because when I took the step back for that 2 years, it all represented me becoming free and breaking loose of my own bondage from everything. And so I started writing this book, and then I started getting blocked. And I also I hired a web developer in 2014 to brand me, create this whole thing. The site was getting built. It was all coming into fruition. Had the book, had it, all the, a lot of the book had been kind of formatted and written and the content. And then all of a sudden I realized that I was being sucked in a vortex of darkness, and that there was no way I could go out and promote all of that until I freed my own life. I had to do it before I could talk it. And I knew that. And I was doing it as I was talking it, and I was creating it as I was doing it. But it was such a web, I had to break the web. So it took a 2-year step back in that to start breaking the web, or I kind of started stepping away from that personal freedom unleashed, and I unleashed myself, basically. And so this week, honestly, so that started in 2014. This week is taken that long for me to fully untwine that, and I'm talking actively working at it and doing all the steps. And it's been intense, as all of you know, because you guys have all been going through that too. So now I do want to say this too. In 2014, 2015, and 2016 is when I was in my pit of hell and dark night of the soul and connected with Champ doing the smiling challenge, when I stepped out of my circumstances, and he would help point me down the road in the direction of connecting to my purpose and helping other people smile and being happy on purpose, meaning no matter what's going on around you, finding the happiness. And this dog taught me that. And I then channeled in the dog. I channeled in his message. I channeled in all this stuff and started writing the book, Life of a Champ, creating a coaching program about, it's like a human training for, basically human training based on the life of a dog. If we were to live more like our dogs, it was help us as humans be happier people. And what I was going to say was this human obedience training, technically. And I created an entire program. I created a book, and the book is coming out soon. Champ's mission is coming back through. I had said everything that we finished off in 2016, left off, coming back around to redo. This whole year so far, in 2018, I'm picking up exactly where everything with 2016 is coming, going like this now. So anyway, with that being said, I mean, people around me, I would go to business meetings and have all these master mindset groups I'd be in, and when I tell them and they'd see the the book cover and talk about me and my dog and what we're teaching people. And they looked at me like I had 3 or 4 or 5, 6 heads. Their business mind could not wrap how I was going to merge my soul that was merged with this little being, this 32-pound dog, how it was going to go out into the world and make a difference as the team. And but I knew it was supposed to happen. And this was long before Champ became a part of the twin flame journey, that if you have not followed that story, go back and listen to some old videos, because you'll follow, because there's going to be so much more calm with him involved in my mission now that this is picking back up, because it really is his mission coming through me, but we have the same mission technically. So anyway, so now that brings me up to kind of the 2017. I started like getting and weeding through. It took me an entire year and a half to brand myself, create the content, write the content, create the content, create the funnel, the message, just the on and the development. And granted, my son-in-law is great at web design, but he knows nothing about like WordPress, which you need for the blog side of that. So he's been trying to learn some of that, but he really kind of helped me with my vision, create it into form that it was me sitting there, but still feeling handicapped, because I'd have this tweak, I have to go to somebody, have that tweak. All these things were happening, and like my success depended upon somebody else. And so basically, like at the end of 17, it was time to, everything was done and ready to go on that site, and went to launch it, and it literally like shut down and lost everything and disconnected, like with the Divi program it's on and all these things. I knew it was a block. And so I spent all this time getting that and having to find somebody, because at that time for development, because my son-in-law knew nothing about that. So I had to get somebody to develop, to reformat all this, to go back into the program, because the program had updated, the files were corrupted and different. Luckily, we restored that. There was a time frame of around November-ish that this was happening. Got it restored. Then the person that was helping me restore it was going to help me continue the process. Fell off the face of the earth. Can't even get a response. And they were like this at first. So I knew it was something else. So then here I was this last week with it all still sitting there, and it was on my list. And it was sitting there as nothing being done, with just like it had been ready to go live, but making certain tweaks, but the development of making it go live. And it was really about cleaning up a mess of a web URL, needing to change the URL of it being where it was being directed to. So it's all technical stuff. But anyway, basically, and I won't bore you with all of the story, but there's a couple details that I do want to share you how this really related. So I woke up last Wednesday, and there's a site that I use people from, and there was this person popped up and said they used the theme that I was using, the Divi theme. And there was something inside of me that said context, so I wrote down a list of what I needed to have. And really, at that time, it was only one little thing of getting this URL changed and the pathway of what needed done. Submitted that to that person. So he's like, yes, I can help you do this. So we started the process in doing it. Well, in order to do it, it was more than just that. It was my WordPress had gotten tangled into corrupted files within every website that I had ever created or in there that never even went anywhere, even a test when it was on Weebly. Like even when we first went this live, my old Weebly site that had all this weirdness I was testing on was showing up, and he had to go into every file I had, and I'm not kidding, he worked 2 days for 12-hour days on this, and got just untangling that mess of my old files, my old being. And so while the cool thing was, the point of this, I was untangling my old self in that. I was breaking away from those things. And as we were doing it, we were deleting all my old stuff, deleting everything that was confusion. We were wiping it off the system, and stuff that I didn't even know existed, anymore, didn't need. And so then, we got all the way down. So I created this custom header that was so grand, and loading it in this system made the system of the Divi not work and function the way it should be normally. So since it'd been done instead of recreating it, then we had to reformat everything about the site to get the site to work, to function, but rerouting, okay? We were rerouting the normal easy system. Get down to the last page of the blog page, ready to go live, and the whole system, development of the pathways we had done, and all the development of that, then funneled into the blog page to post, would not even work. And the way the pathways were, it would never connect. And it was all based on the header and pathways we had created. So in a matter of a single minute, I'm like, I saw the pattern. I even felt it before. This is the old pattern, reroutes, doing things the hard way, doesn't have to be this way. Okay, so him and I like clicked together. We're like, this header's going. He recreated a header, and him and I spent like a day and a half nonstop. And granted, we were like messaging each other, and we reformatted the entire development in that and plugged it all together, got rid of all my old crap, everything. Everything's really like functioning, and the new, now that's not to say there's not new tweaks of the new stuff and little details, okay, that need to be corrected, but the picture and the web has been done. But what I want to share with you is I needed to go down that route, and every bit of it, including reformatting this, because he was teaching me as I went how to use that system and how to create that site. And guess what? He's like, you won't even need me after this because you're going to know how to build your own site. And I'm like, yes, because I want to tell you something, that I am here to help people reboot, recalibrate their vibration. However, I'm helping people do that, but I've created this blueprint coming in the fourth future that I have always saw that I can only reach so many people. That I have a blueprint that's supposed to, other people are looking for their ultimate calling to let them use this. So I've solved, ultimately, my mission is to help other people get into their mission, even though I'm a twin flame expert. And guess what? They're going to need websites. They're going to need like branding. They're going to need monetizing their messages. I've done all of this for 20 years. I've had 12 years of marketing. Like, so everything about it, down to what was just happening this last week, set me up for everything that I know is coming. And I got to tell you now, I want to tell you like the biggest awareness that I had that came out of that. What that really taught me was that my own personal discovery in that, I should say, is that I had my breakthrough about all of it, every 20 years of what I know we were talking about a website, but it was not just the website, it was me. And it was the point of having and believing in myself and my own abilities and capabilities. And I was feeling in bondage all the time because I was having to put my fate, my destiny in the hands of other people, as well as I was feeling trapped because I had a mindset, I had a vision that needed to be created and painted, and no one could do that for me. And therefore, it taught me that I had not been believing in myself enough because I was looking outside of myself and giving that power away in that aspect, and that I was relying on people to do things for me that I couldn't do. Granted, I didn't have the skills to do it, but guess what? I do now. Watch out, because OMG, everything that I've been planning is coming to fruition, and it's colliding like the Big Bang Theory, even just the book and my soul launching out there at that time. Oh my gosh, everything I've been training for this 20 years is coming to fruition, and I could not be more excited about it. I have retrieved my soul, and I am on fire, and I'm glowing forward on fire, and I'm here to help you do the same thing. So, all right, I think we're complete. So the bottom line is just make sure that you do what it takes in order to avoid running from your mistakes, stop talking negative to yourself, have tolerance. And in the process of that, in that acceptance, that's going to help you release the bondage and stop feeling trapped so you can get through this breakthrough, flip off the fence to the other side, and align with your destiny. It's waiting on you. All right. Much love to you and many blessings. I do want to tell you, though, I have to share this. I want you to check out my blog. My first ever real blog is going to be posted with a link down here. And granted, it's not perfect. And granted, there's some editorial errors on my website. But what you are going to see down here is came together in this huge way over this last week. And I could not be more excited. So I would love you to just check that out. Please give me feedback, comments. Make a note down here. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, and also don't forget to hit that little bell button, and that will ding every time I do my video post for the week. And subscribe. Be sure to share the shine. Sending you loads of love, and may you always face your fears, find freedom, and glow forward on fire. Namaste.